One, two. All right. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for your patience in the 16 minutes of Trinidad time that we taken. I'd like everybody to stand for the national anthem, please. Before you have your seats, uh, no, before you have your seats, before you have your seats, um, I am calling Mr. Waif, right? Before he comes on to say the prayer, Mr. Waif is a retired school supervisor three. Now, when my mom became a principal, he was her first supervisor, right? Now, she used the word role model, right? And you agree with that term, that you are a role model for her? We didn't discuss the meaning of it. Right. But I'm grateful that pivotal people in her life could be here. So as we welcome Mr. Wave to say the prayer. Good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, as much as I was introduced that way, I would like to say that this is actually my first prayer topic. So you can appreciate somebody's way and say they're not hearing me. Hello? Okay, so right, are you hearing now? Right, okay. In the name of the Father, the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Almighty God, creator of heaven and earth, and of infinite wisdom and understanding, we praise you and we bless you as we can do no other. Into your invisible hand, into the individual hands of your Holy Spirit, we commit this launch of Tilt, the first Amazon and self-published novel, the creative brainchild of our sister Taliba. Let your Holy Spirit direct all our proceedings today, such that the critiques, the reflections, and sentiments of friends and patrons are generous, imbued with charity and sympathetic understanding, serving to generate interest in an increasingly expanding and appreciative readership. Dear Holy Spirit, continue to bless our sister to forge ahead in subsequent creative explorations of the strengths and foibles of our beloved country, to enkindle hope to the despairing voices of our times. Above everything, let this launch redound to the inestimable glory of God. We make this prayer in the wonderful name of your only begotten Son,
and our blessed Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Now you can have your seat. All right. So we here this evening. We here this evening to celebrate the book launch of Ayah Taliba Ayodike. So just give her a little round of applause. Now, my name is Johanse Ayodike, right? So that means my title here is son. And that's the only title I want to go by this evening. Son. Now, I have no fear or nervousness speaking in front of a crowd. But today, when I was thinking about it, I started to feel a little nervousness. I started to feel the, when I was thinking about what's the emotion, it is, I was proud. And usually it's the parents who's supposed to be proud of the children. But today and even when I picked up the book, I remember when I went to pick it up after ordering it online and I look at the book and actually see the name on it, I was like, but there's my mother. So not only being her son, but the faces in the crowd, or all of you all who came to support. I see a lot of family, and my mother is a very family-oriented person. Even my middle name, which is Obika, means family is supreme, right? And family, of course, is not only blood. And when putting together the launch, my mom said, hey, I want to do the launch on this date. So I asked her, I say, you have a team of people, you need a team, And then one day she called and say, well, she got a team. And then when I heard of the team members, uh, it made me feel emotional because these are people, since I'm a child, that are around my mother. These are people who rally with her and move with her. And when she told me how, well, the team handling this, and the team handling that, So those who are members of the team here today, just wave or stand up, let you all be acknowledged. Now, I think it's the first time I ever had to introduce my mother, introduce her to such a auspicious occasion. And I am happy that she is able to do this because I remember, evening, sir, come in, no problem. Yes, I remember when going through the process of writing, when my mom would call and say, I'm feeling demotivated. I ain't feeling to do nothing. Give me a little pep talk now. And I saying, but this is a strange thing, Usually again, it's the other way around. But I was grateful. I was grateful to be able to be there for her as much as she was for me. And publishing a book is no easy thing. Actually, the publishing part, I think, is the easiest part out of the entire process in terms of bringing it together, feeling even comfortable enough that this is the thing I want to put out in the public. And last week, 2 weeks ago, I went to a book launch. And I remember sitting and people in the crowd were saying, I wish I know somebody who published a book. And I was thinking, I know somebody. I know somebody. So without further ado, I am introducing Aya Taliba Ayodike. Before you come on, I'm going to say one more thing. The name Taliba means seeker of knowledge. And this is something that embodies who my mother is, seeker of knowledge. And this embodies who she is. And this book, Tilt, it have a lot of truths in it. Sometimes, we like to see things how we want it to be versus how it is. We like to see people who we want them to be and not who it is. And this book help you get some perspective. So now I'll introduce my mother, Aya Taliba Ayodike, for a little round of applause.
Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I want to say that um, I I want to apologize for not being able to stand up and stroll around and stride through the crowd while I'm speaking to you. But I am not as young as I used to be, so I need to sit a lot rather than damage these knees that are already kind of giving trouble. So let me start off by saying I don't know. I see a few people in red in the audience, and I suspect it's just by accident. But in fact, I don't know if you've noticed that is the national colors that I chose for the cover of the book because more than anything else, I want this book to be called a Trinidadian book. Not even a Trinbagonian book, a Trinidadian book, because it's rooted in Trinidadian life. And I want when people read it, that they will say, I need to go to Trinidad. I need to visit Trinidad. I want to see all the places that are mentioned in this book. So that's the first thing. It's a Trinidadian book. And the second thing is that Aya Taliba Ayodike is a name I assumed because I wanted to have an African orientation. But before that, long before that, as I came out of the womb, my mother said she was going to call me Joy because I came out smiling. So I think I have spent my entire life smiling. And so it is that joy that I came out with that I have always felt that I have tried to communicate in this book. I want people who read this book to feel that sense of joy in their lives as well. And so that is my major motivation for writing the book. Yes. Thirdly, it is, I think everyone was a little scared when I said I was writing this book, that I was writing about them. So I want to say very categorically, it is not about anybody. I gave the characters as far as I could names that did not belong to anyone. And so when you write in the opening pages of the book, this is fictitious and it doesn't right. So that is really true. Most of the characters are really a composite of various people I may have seen or known, and some of it is purely imaginary. But trying my best to root it in truth so that they would be believable and people would enjoy the experience of reading. So, tilt. This is the last part of the talk. Tilt is a concept that one day I just had this flash of inspiration, and it was if you tilt your head at a certain angle, you see a different perspective. And so, if you really wanted to understand reality, you could not stay in one position only. You had to constantly be tilting your head to see what else is there to reinterpret life. And therefore, that is why the novel is named Tilt. The main character finds himself off balance and he has to keep tilting his head in order to try to get back that balance in life. And that is really what life is all about balance. And so that's what the book is about.
So we're going to do a little exercise quickly. I would like everybody, once your bones young, right? Just to tilt your head back and look up for about 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Right. Now you can tilt your head back forward. Now I want you to tilt your head to the left.
You will get dizzy.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I wouldn't ask all you to do it to the right, but why I say that is because sometimes when we walking or we sitting down, we looking straight ahead. And that we may even move our eyes left or right. But sometimes when you move your entire head and you look up, when you see the roof, you get a different perspective of where you are. Because let's say if you keep your head forward and you say, well, what the room look like? You might only describe the things forward, but the room had a whole lot of other elements. And sometimes that's what we do in life. We look at life through a linear point of view. We look at life through only our lens and not sometimes, well, tilting your head to the left, tilting your head to the right. And even if you may not agree with other people's perspective, sometimes we don't even want to hear it. We don't even want to see it. We do, and the book addresses some of the pivotal things in society. So one of even the building blocks of family. And that is something that could be strange because everybody different. So that means each one of us have a different perspective on family, on relationships, right? Sometimes we even call it common sense. Well, that person's supposed to know what to do, or that person have to be this way. But if you tilt your head or you tilt your perspective in another way, you'll be able to see life from a different perspective. So now we're going to introduce our feature speaker, and let me give her an introduction. Her name is Dr. Merle Hodge. She's a Trinbagonian author, literary critic, and activist. She was the first Black Caribbean woman to publish a major work of fiction. She's an author of many works, including For the Life of Letitia, Beyond Negritude, The Love Poems, and the 1970 novel Crick Crack Monkey, which is regarded as a classic in Caribbean literature. So I'd like to bring on Dr. Merle Hodge. Do you need a jockey back to come? Over there. But let's get this. Oh, yes, right. So actually, I'm bringing all this stuff with me, but anyway, just in case I forget anything. Right. Thank you. Hold on. I got old lady, but anyway, just leave out the old. You only had your you understand it. Ah, right. Hold on. Sorry, I must have a pencil in my hand. I'm sorry, I only have to. I'm keeping back the whole show. I should have had all this all the time. Yeah, well, I have. Oh, all right, then I'll use it. So I don't want to unzip this. Right, thanks. Remind me to give it back, huh? Okay. Oh, jeez. No. God. Talk about confused. Ah, Lord. Right. Okay. Good afternoon. Good, well, everybody, yeah. Good evening, and it's good to see all of you here to celebrate Taliba. But I just want to put in. All right. First of all, I'm seeing myself as feature speaker, but all I know about to do at a launch is to talk a little bit about the book and praise it up and thing, right? So that's okay. I have anything that is as grand as feature on it today, you know? Right. So that Taliba phoned me
recently to tell me about her launch and to ask if I would be here. And well, um, well, suppose I didn't know that it was somebody who had changed her name, because she told me that she was in a workshop held, it was held here. No, the library wasn't there then. Was this library there then?
It was held in the library,
Right here.
in the old one.
The old
This
one,
one
okay.
wasn't built or anything,
Yeah, right.
but in the old
The
library.
old library. Okay. Um, and she told me that she was in a workshop that I led or, conducted. And I was very puzzled. Anyway, we didn't get to talk then. And then on another occasion when we spoke, I asked her to please fill me in on this workshop. I don't remember anything about that, right? But it turned out that it was a workshop that was set up by Eric Williams, right? As part of a thing that he founded called the National Cultural Council.
Yeah.
Yes, okay. Right, well, I thought the workshop was a wonderful idea. And I think that there were other aspects, and not I think, there must have been other aspects in that council. But I want to say that we could cuss Dr. Williams from here to heaven, but I admire him a lot for this business of culture. He was a man who understood how important it was for a people to recognize their culture to begin with, because many of us didn't know we had a culture at that time. There was nothing in school pointing us to who we were. We learned about Britain and other places. Um, and what apart from the National Cultural Council, which it has disappeared. I mean, I went away to work in Jamaica at one point, and when I come back, nobody could tell me what had happened to it, you know. Um, but what that gentleman also did was to get people to research their culture, and I'm talking about Best Village now. Best Village we used to laugh at and all kind of thing, but that really was a very important project because people had to go and dig up their culture, research. They discovered all kinds of things that, of course, they had never been exposed to in school. I mean, I don't know if the young people here would have a sense of that because things have changed a great deal, So that, um, all right, now that was traditional literature, I guess, because there must have been some stories from our folklore. I'm talking about Best Village now, and a lot of music and dancing and stuff, right? Um, but one of the things that I have noticed over the years is that in the Caribbean, ministries of culture have tended to be about things that are more likely to attract tourists, right? Music and calypso and things, which are fine, wonderful. But I don't know how many Caribbean leaders even today have any clue that we have got a very healthy Caribbean literature going. It is appreciated all over the world. It is studied at university and all of that, you know. Um, so that um, you see that now age. But you know so that is, oh yes, I wanted to illustrate that by saying that I had a friend, some people here might know her, Constance Mactier. She worked in GBU, Government Broadcasting Unit, and she used to do a lot of work on Trinidadian culture, right? Um, and there was some kind of function. It was in the middle of the day, but she smuggled me into it, and Dr. Williams was there. And I am standing up chatting with some people, and he suddenly appeared at my side and he said, "What are you writing now?" Right? I was so happy because it meant that he knew that there was a kind that well that I had written something, of course, but he knew about West Indian literature. And I wanted to take a poll right now. You would find any, well, not any, I mean, it have some, I can't be that extreme. Prime ministers or other ministers in the Caribbean who could even maybe name a writer of their their country. Now, the workshop things seems to have shut down. Taliba told me it was a workshop that lasted 6 weeks, and the, the the people in it met once a week. I had forgotten all that completely. Um, okay, so um, but then I want to tell you that in the workshop, when I saw her, all this time we talking on the phone, it was when I saw her, you came to drop something, drop the book here. And when I saw her, I remembered her. And what I remembered was that she struck me out of all the people in the group I was, working with. She struck me as a very sane person, a person with a good head. And of course, we were all young, right? But it's so that it seemed to me at the time, the time that she was a little bit ahead of her age in terms of that same solidity of head, maturity. I thought she was mature, beyond the others. Like what we call old people children, children who grow up either with their grandmother or the grandmother was in their life. They are different breed of people. They are lucky, right? You see? Anyway, so that I all I'm going to do is just pick out some of the strengths of her work. Well, the whole work is strong as far as I'm concerned, but I just want to sort of focus on some of the skills that she shows in there. Um, I find for a start that if you didn't know that this was her first full-length publication or published work, I mean, you probably published short stories and so in between, I don't know, but right. So it's her first published work. Now, if you did not know that, you would think you were reading a well-published book by a seasoned writer who has been publishing for years. But she probably reads a lot, you see?
Yeah, I do.
That is it, you see? Um, okay. Now, one of the things and in the book there are several places where things are thrown in. When I say so, she says these things very calmly and without sensation. And I'm referring there to the her mature worldview, her mature writing, and her reflecting a wealth of experience. Right? Um, there's nothing amateurish about this book. There's nothing first book about this. You have competitions like the Commonwealth has or used to have a competition for first book people, right? But this shows a level of maturity at so many levels that it's out of its class, you know. Um, there, for example, some statements every now and then. She's speaking about a lady. I can't remember who the lady was, but she says, pardon me, she observes the writer in trying to project this person and how she looked. She says she was more attractive than beautiful. Now, isn't that a deep, deep thing? Makes you think more attractive than beautiful, right? Good. Now, Taliba has this sophisticated control of language. And this is to say, in her language as a writer, as the narrator, and all of that, with a rich vocabulary, right? Well constructed sentences and a very polished style, which again hangs together with this impression I get of maturity beyond your years, right? Very polished style. She also has a poetic streak. Loud now, let me just, I should have, you see a fiddle sitting down there. I could have do all this then, find the pages and put a little book list. Anyway, um, yeah, yeah. Oh, yes. So what couple page 10? Okay, yes. This is somebody who is working in one of those buildings, I imagine around the shore there, what we call it, the wharf, like where the government, where the towers are now. But it's something where they're looking out to sea, yeah? Well, when they say looking out to sea, the buildings looking out to sea. It wasn't a kind of sea place. Um, Peter stepped into the heat of the midday sun and stood still. Downtown Port of Spain. Sorry, no, sorry, wrong. Not wrong, no. Oh man, that's not it. Sorry, yeah, because it's a really striking. I put on page 10 here, but sorry, confused. Where her poetic streak shows. All right, if I find it at some point, I can always go back and read it, right? Now, right, I'm speaking on the one hand of her control, not on the one hand, I'm speaking in general, but about her control of language. And of course, in a Caribbean novel, the language could be either standard English and or Creole, Trinidadian Creole. Now, I just would like to leave that label with you because we still have people calling it just dialect. Every language in the world almost is a dialect of something. Spanish, French, and Portuguese are dialects of Latin, right? Nobody calls them dialects now. They sprang out of Latin, and our Creole sprang out of Creole, and be so bright we have both. You understand? We didn't abandon, the other one. Um, so that right, I just want to make a comment about that. I don't think you've used Creole a great deal in here, but every now and then, somebody uses it, a character. So, and I want to just congratulate you because you understand that um, the representation of Creole, the transcribing of Creole, does not need you to change up spelling, to distort spelling, and so for people to understand that it's Creole. Creole has a grammar of its own, and you write it, and I mean, there are some things that people feel they just have to change. I mean, I don't know, I don't like. There are some words that I feel as if I'm betraying the language if I use English spelling, right? So that there are some things we feel the urge to spell a little differently to make it clear that this is Creole here. But as I say, the grammar of the language is what identifies it as Creole. So I'm saying congratulations, and I really appreciate that when you are writing Creole in here, you don't feel you have to distort. And because what that does, it does a number of things. It makes it look like a jokey language, and joke kind of thing, stupidness. It also is a problem for non-speakers of Creole. People who don't speak Creole have a little difficulty finding their way um, through that if all the words are not spelled as they're spelled in English. So one day we will get together in the Caribbean and we will make a phonetic spelling for it. They have done it for the linguistics have done it for the French Caribbean. What we call patois, right? My son is involved in that a great deal. There's a way of transcribing patois where it sounds exactly what is there on the page, a phonetic script, right? But we ain't get there yet. Um, okay, so I'm talking now about your sophisticated control of language. I just spoken about that. Um, right. So the novel, then, I mean, I'm going to have to put this together in a proper review, Taliba, because I tell you, I was a little behind. It ain't gonna happen now, but it will happen. I want to I want to do a proper review, a coherent review. I come here with some notes here, and every now and then you will realize that I can't decipher my own notes, but never mind, you know. But the whole thing begins with a stage setting description and a commentary that draw us into a specific environment and those things, those two things, the description of a part of Port of Spain and a commentary in between. Commentary is not the main thing. And the writer is very, very skilled at creating atmosphere and a strong sense of place. And again, I was glad to hear you say that you want this to be a Trinidadian book. You want it to be seen as such. And I'll tell you something again. I taught creative writing among the things in my department at the university here, our university. And perhaps even before that, because for a long time, and it's still happening, many young people, when they're asked to write a story, they write something that come off the TV, right? They have no idea. Well, it's not that they have no idea, but they don't think it's worth observing what's going on here. And it is everything in the TV. They have no sense of the. Well, I don't want to say it that I don't want to get too extreme and say they have no sense of our culture. It is more like they don't think what we do and how we live in our culture has any value, is worth going into a book. When the Cropper Foundation had this a residential workshop that I was one of the facilitators um, at, we would almost have to hold a whole session on that. They would write all kinds of things that you could only find in the TV. There, no appreciation at all for what is happening here. Um, okay, so that the writer is skilled at creating atmosphere and a strong sense of place, right? Um, her attention to detail is an important asset, right? She uses details, details allow us to understand background. Well, what I'm really saying there is that instead of just making statements and, being explicit, making explicit statements, she does a thing that is really recommended to use actual details of the look of a place or a person's behavior and all of that in order to project anything that can be projected like that. So that through significant detail rather than explicit statement, detail mixed into the narration as the story proceeds, our curiosity grows, and as we collect those details and piece them together into a whole picture, right? She has commendable powers of observation. She's able to accurately convey or put her finger on a character's state of mind by invoking images. And this is a feature also of poetic consciousness. I asked her if she knew she had a poetic streak, and she says yes, calmly, no fuss, right? So that she like the poet, she will use imagery and symbolism, concrete imagery and things to represent things rather than abstractions, right? There isn't a great deal of abstraction in there, I would say. What I also want to say, well, it is vaguely related to what I just said here, but when I write the review, it will be in a more organized thing. That I admired her for seeking to get inside the mind of a man. I think a lot of female writers wouldn't be so brave, but I mean, it sounded it sounded authentic. So, you know, that is, I'm not so sure that men can,
Do that.
understand what's going on in our heads either. And it's not because we are worlds apart in nature, it is because we are conditioned differently. And I nearly get in a quarrel with somebody about that the other day. Boys and girls are totally different from each other. Not that much, but they put us into roles from morning. So we grow up, with that saying that's your role there, that what you're supposed to do, you and you in that basket and all of that. But in fiction now, they're talking about characterization. She has got some really recognizable, believable characters because she is a keen observer. Now, not only of character speech, because in fiction, much of the work of drawing or portraying characters is done through careful representation of their speech. That is to say, dialogue, right? So it is um, how they speak, and also, of course, what they say. I mean, those two things are not exactly the same, right? Um, so that she's a keen observer not only of character speech, but also of human behavior in general. Everybody has what the linguists call an idiolect, which means it is your very special and very much yours way of speaking. Everybody in the world. I don't think there's anybody who speaks exactly like anybody else. Is like your DNA, you know? So if you're able to capture that, you're well on your way to presenting a really believable and recognizable character. Um, so that she does not present characters through dry reports or character sketches. In literature in school, they used to ask us, well, I suppose it's one way of helping us to understand the literature. But they used to ask us to write character sketches, right? Which is quite a different thing from putting you out to the world because of the things that you do, your gestures, what is going on in your mind, and all of that. Um, and well, I would like to let me see if there's anything else I want to say at this point. I just want to read from the novel um, as a cross section of Taliba's writing skills. Well, a chapter which, not a chapter, I ain't reading a whole chapter, God, I could keep all here whole night. A page or two, right? A page or two, um, that, this particular passage, as well as others, disp- displays or puts on view a cross section of Taliba's writing skills. And I just want to make sure I don't forget any of these pieces of paper. Okay, I'll just read a little bit of it, right? 20. Okay, right. Um, the morning yawned and stretched itself away. Beautiful. I'm saying beautiful not here. I say it as a beautiful sentence, right? And Peter with it. He woke to the realization that there was still no Roma. His body and brain felt tired from the nightmares encircling him. Aiming for some semblance of normality, although it was too late to make it for 8 o'clock, he got ready for work. But he dressed with a prevailing aura of numbness. He stood before the mirror, looked at himself, and said bracingly, "Man, pull yourself together." But everywhere he turned was an ocean of emptiness. His footsteps echoed hollowly. He put on his socks first, hastily, to muffle the pain. His feet dragged. His hand was all thumbs. The buttonholes of his shirt were eyelid slits shut tight against his stumbling fingers, denying him entrance. That is so graphic, right? You get all of that into the action of putting on his shirt. Just great. He gave up on the last two buttons. He tried to fix his shirt, crumpled and tucked untidily into his pants. A deep shiver shook his body as if a bucket of ice cold water had been dashed all over him. Sensory details. He was oblivious to nature all around him, the bright, clear sunshine of dry season, the dew-filled shrubs hunched low. Well, I read that in the wrong emphasis, but anyway, I'll go ahead. Now, there are some lovely pieces of humor, kind of half sarcastic humor. The molehill climb into the car became an arduous mountain. You know the proverb or whatever it is, just a saying, something. Yes, right. So she has you use that there. Um, his hands groped around blindly for the seat belt. All of these are gestures that we can imagine, and these are conveying things that she might have said in a dry tone. Well, he get a little confused. All of that. His hands groped around blindly for the seat belt. He drove slowly down the road, headed for work. Revolving round and round in his head were the images of his supposedly secure life, etc. There. right? There's a particular part of, oh Lord, I don't know if yes, Peter, mm, Peter tried to resume his life. He uncovered the Milky Way easel and stared at the CCAPA sketches. He tried to force himself to concentrate. He pulled a pen out of the clutter on his desk and stared at the blank paper, but try as he might, he could not focus. He watched the reel of his life unroll before his eyes. He gave up, slipped lower in his chair, all very telling movements and motions which hold a great deal of content, and covered his face with shaking hands. For a long time he slumped, spaced out. He did not know what to do. Peter could barely contain himself. It was bad enough that he was wrangling with the building design. He poured himself two stiff drinks, gulped them down, then shook his head violently, trying to free his mind from the additional worries of Roma and Stanley's disappearance. He stared through the glass at his beloved view, but now it seemed remote and comfortless. The colors muted and grayed out, the calm obscured by a sometimish rain. Giving himself a mental shake, he got up and wandered out the door. His footsteps took him to the open area and ledge at the back of his office. He stood there, toes over the edge, trying to wrap his mind about the, the, the abrupt rupture in his own life. There's somewhere, well, it will be near here, but I'm not going to waste your time by trying to find it, where it's in the same scene where he suddenly has a kind of, he imagines, he imagines himself falling down the 10 stories, right? And and at the end, he is just pieces of flesh flinging everywhere. But I read this rather long piece to persuade you that you need to get this book and read it, eh? Because it is it's well done. It's well done. And again, Taliba, congratulations and thanks for inviting me to your launch. Right? I have a lot of stuff here. So look at all of this, Lord. Hmm. Oh, sorry. Yes. Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. Oh, thank you very much. No, and I have sisters in China, you know, when it's time. Yeah. Oh,
Dr. Mulhudge, thank you very much. We
mhm.
appreciate it. Give her another round of applause. Now, I'm glad that she read a few excerpts from the book to give you a little teaser. And sometimes in this day and age, even though we may not want to read, we could get the audio book. We could go on YouTube and hear someone reading it. But I think it's a privilege to actually hear the book read in the author's voice. So now we're going to have Miss Ayodike reading chapter 14.
11.
11, you're reading 11 instead. Okay. So we're reading chapter 11. All right. So please listen attentively as we go through chapter 11.
Just a little bit of it. A very Trinidadian bit of it. They are sitting down to lunch, and everyone is afraid to talk because of the tension in the air. Peter's brother, Trevor, however, is not part of that tension, so he is eating. Only Trevor, disgusted though he was at everyone's behavior, had the care freedom to really appreciate the meal. He punctuated his eating with small talk. Rice and provision, yes. I love to eat my rice with some pigeon peas, then add in a little dasheen and white yam. I hear all that starch does make some people horny. Anybody else find so? Various emotions chased across the faces of the others. Roma shrugged and turned pointedly away from Trevor. Nandi laughed and shook her head at him. Arturo turned deaf ears and ignored him. Peter looked annoyed. Trevor did not mind his questions going unanswered. Here, Peter, have some sweet potato. It's supposed to calm your nerves. You need some, Roma? Callaloo nice and slippery, eh? Looking directly at Roma. More slippery than an eel trying to escape being caught. Roma opened her mouth, thought better of it, and turned back to her food. He watched the dish of fried plantains being passed around. Fried plantains, mmm. The sugar sprinkle on top too. A man catching Seppi. That's what you use, Roma? Roma completely ignored him this time. He watched the plantain dwindling. Hey, leave some for me. Peter's voice was severe. You sure you deserve any with your mouth blabbing so? Trevor was unperturbed. The crab back looking whole and good. Mmm, delicious. You didn't have to get a stab in the back to catch it at all. Arturo began to look annoyed. He too opened his mouth, but Peter shook his head gently at Arturo and silenced Trevor with a pointedly severe look. Some people just behave like they have the run-ins, mouth open and Tory jump out. All right, I done. Let me just enjoy this delicious food. But he could not resist some last thrusts. Macaroni pie glued together with plenty cheese, boy, tighter than marriage vows. And the coleslaw and the fresh salad well jumbled up together like my brother's life. Real toss salad for true. Filtering in from the open windows were the strains of parang songs, infectious, distracting, punctuating the stilted dialogue, until the unfortunate refrain of Scrunter's Leroy blasted their ears and caused everyone to look super conscious. Everyone except Trevor, singing loudly and adapting some of the lyrics, chin pointing at Roma all through the song. Where your mother gone? She didn't have to go. She coulda tell me so. She gone with me one son too. When the neighbors come visiting, look at me position. I really embarrass as man. That shouldn't happen to me at all. Stanley, where your mama gone? Arturo got up and looked at Nandi. Time to go get the dessert. Let's see if we can sweeten things up a bit here. Come, Nandi, help me bring it in.
So as we get a little teaser, right? And also as Dr. Mulhudge, she gave her thoughts on the writings, the writing that my mother did. You all may have some questions. And sometimes it's a privilege again to be able to speak to the author directly. Because sometimes you read the book and it's like, I wonder what he or she was thinking, boy. I wonder why they say XYZ, boy. I wonder even what was the inspiration behind the book. So now we have the opportunity where we could ask her any question you'd like pertaining to the book. So the floor is open. Anyone may ask a question. Go ahead.
That's a foolish mic.
Um, it was a wonderful experience to be here. Um, I'd heard about Merle over the years, but I never met. Um, and it was wonderful. But I'm going to ask a probably a troublesome question. Um, I was at a conference the week after Carnival, and there's a certain person there, a high official at UTT, who told me that Carnival was not African, because I call it an African festival, and because it might have originated in Africa, and it's now whatever Chinese and Indians and stuff. I wanted to, of course, I kept calm and I responded to him. But what from what you've changed your name to an African name
Mhm.
so you can be in touch with your cultural roots.
Mhm.
Um, would you talk more about that? That's my question.
Okay. Um, Let me start by saying that as a young girl at 21, I was living in the States with my mother and working in a bank in New York. And there were lots of different races in the bank. Um, and there was a particular very old white lady who was working alongside me and who said, I'm so glad my name is Schomburg because it tells everyone very quickly who I am. That's all she said. And but that hit me very hard because I couldn't say that. I couldn't say I was so glad my name was Marcia Chandler, which is what it was, because Marcia Chandler didn't say who I was. So that is when I decided at some point in my life I would change my name, and I did. So for me, um, I think that is one of the things that Africans were robbed of in bringing them across to the Caribbean and renaming them. And so I wanted to make it very clear that when you hear my name, you know who I am.
For that question. I don't even know if I can answer it. Well, just tell me.
Hmm.
Oh,
Good afternoon, everyone. Is there a chapter that you had the most fun writing as an author?
Chapter. Not really, I had fun writing a lot of it, but little scenes. For me, there was a lot of comedy that I don't think an outsider would see. Anybody else reading the book could just say, it's happening. But there were lots of little things that I found very funny as I was writing it. And but that's punctuated throughout the book. So I wouldn't say that there's any particular chapter
Now
as
that
such.
you have this book published,
Mhm.
can we expect more?
Oh, definitely. When I retired, because I had said since I was 12 years old that I wanted to be a writer. And I was scribbling little things all over the place between 12 and the end of school. And then when I left school, I said, I wanted to be a journalist because I was a writer. Went away to New York, found out how hard it was to even get into a journalism school, found out how much money it was. And so I said, I can't be a journalist anymore. I came back home and went into teaching. And teaching, very rewarding, but also very exhausting. So for all of my 35 years in education, I couldn't find enough time to write. So the day I retired, I said, do I have any excuse anymore? No. So for the next 5 years, all I did was write, write, write. I have 10 drafts. Till it is number one. So you have 10 more, 9 more to come. Working on them all at the same time? No, I wrote one story and then one by one. For the like 6 months I took on each one and wrote. Those are short stories or? No, novels. But I think you were, or somewhere I saw something that you were writing short stories. Yeah, yeah. Well, now I'm writing short stories. But yeah. But I'm just kind of writing short stories to enter competitions and stuff like that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and you see in the competitions, um, this book I hate, he is longlisted on the Brooklyn College Literary Festival. Now, those who are aware of literary movement, people will you will see when they publish the list, it's a very prestigious list. And when even if people look at name, see that that she made the long list on the Brooklyn Caribbean listing festival. So just give her a little wrong. Any other question?
Thank you. Seeing that you have such a descriptive way of writing, would you ever consider doing a screenplay? Um, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I have no particulars. There's something else to explore then. Think about it because you are basically you already have it. Okay. It is
Well,
because
I'll
when
think about it.
Dr. Hodge spoke about, getting dressed and the way the individual pull the seatbelt, you already have it. So it's only we need to do it now. Okay, all right. But it's screenplays like poetry are particular skills. Now, she said, and I agree that I have a poetic flair, but I cannot write poetry. I've tried, and I don't write good poetry. So perhaps, perhaps, but I'll think about it.
Okay, pleasant good afternoon to one and all. Um, Let me first say congrats to Debo, a wonderful novel. And I want to mention that I've been writing and I can always call on Taliba for assistance, for little workshop she attended to pass on knowledge. So I want to publicly thank her too for sharing um, her sources, workshops she attended, etc. My question is, in writing your novel, did you ever contemplate not letting the marriage end happily? Thank you. And if
Um,
not, why?
but the original story was with the son committing suicide and the parents trying to find out why. That was the first draft of it. And it had problems in it because of the time frame. So I decided I was going to change that story to make the boy a little boy. And in making the boy a little boy, I focused more on the parents. But to be honest, I don't believe in unhappy endings. So if I can find a way to make things work, I will always go there. So there's no pessimistic streak in me at all. I believe if you try hard enough at anything, you can succeed. So the marriage had to work. Well, you can have a whole debate about that. That thing in the Bible about the Sabbath is from how go a man not man for the Sabbath. That funny. So jump to myself. No. Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. Who's saying it? In other words, so you're kind of submitting yourself or pulling yourself along to fit into this thing. That even when it don't seem to be something you can't fit into. I don't know. Okay. I think the other thing is the whole business of what a family is. Yeah. Still don't understand. Not you anyway. I'm sure that is part of your philosophy. We have different shapes and sizes of family. They don't necessarily all live in one house, but we still have the idea. And little girls are still brought up to think that if you don't go there, you will fail and all. Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, I like your optimism, and you never put that sad in your book. Well, not permanently sad.
Right. Any other questions?
Taliba,
Yes, sir.
congratulations, my dear,
Thank you.
and especially for choosing Dr. Oh, I said, I said, congratulations to Taliba, and especially for bringing the fifth speaker.
Yeah.
If ever there was a person who I revered but to children's literature. It is
Milha.
Dr. Milha.
Mm.
Thank you. But Taliba, I want to find out your idea of the foreign reader who you want to convince of the joy that is Trinidad. What are the contours of this foreign reader that you could pick out as, all right, this is the kind of characteristic that shapes the idea that I have to contribute to your story. Thank you.
Hmm. I think um when I think of the foreign readers, I honestly think still of Caribbean people just living in other countries. So that there is a automatic identification with the things in the Caribbean things in the book. And so I don't know that I mean every writer, because I'm thinking of Naipaul here and his presentation of Caribbean society and um, that was recognized and accepted by all readers. So it's just a question of being open enough, the reader, I mean, being open enough to to take in wholeheartedly whatever environment and experience is being presented. That answers your question? Okay.
Can I get some?
Mm-hmm.
Because I remember when one of your the early drafts, and when you
Mm-hmm.
sent it out, the person said, don't write for a Caribbean audience. They were saying write for more an international audience. And I remember the conversation we had, you was wondering, well, how to write for an international audience, but still keep it the Caribbean flavor of things. And Dr. Hodge alluded to it in terms of not making it too Creole in terms of the spelling, so that when you read it, it still reads like standard English, but it's still Trinidad Creole, Trinidad dialect. And in terms of the international, because I think because the language so descriptive, some of it you might just be so curious about. And I would even use the word a little jarring because I remember there was a part where um, Peter, like he was doing a little soliloquy, thinking about his situation, and then it was written, and then he bit into a Julie Mango, and then I was thinking, oh, where did Julie Mango come? Right? The state wasn't set to say, well, so brought the Julie Mango. He came into the office and saw the Julie Mango, but when and I can't remember the exact words how it was described when he bit into the the the, the succulent something of the Julie Mango. If let's put myself out of who I am as a foreigner, I'd be like, who is that Julie Mango boy, right? Or where does Julie Mango come from and why it looked like it's someone like it tasting so good. So I think some of the description, and I use the word jarring because the Julie Mango came out of nowhere, but there were other things where like something happened, like where that come from, but it was so descriptive, you want to know about it. So I think just to add, and that's a wonderful question, yeah. Just to add to that, I think it does a wonderful job in terms of that.
Somebody else. People. Right. Now, this idea of writing for an international audience. Anybody ask, what the fellow named Charles Dickens who write Oliver Twist to write for international audience?
Exactly.
That is
Exactly.
the motor in us. We
Mm-hmm.
have to. They have to understand us like how we catch retail to understand what
Yeah. Yeah.
and all that. No, you can't. I mean, you're making us an inferior race or people or something. You write
Mm.
from. In fact,
Taliba. I wrote a little thing in there. I didn't use it. It wasn't really relevant to us in because, but you spoke about the word batimamzel, and you said something like uh, that you described it. You described our speech as the colorful local parlance. Well, I started to write a little lecture to you, but I'm going to, one of these days I'll talk to you. I was going to write down right from where you are, right from inside, right, the WRITE, from inside your reality. Who I understand it is their business. Your
Right,
people don't
right.
understand it. That kind of thing. No, that is handing over our dignity, saying we mustn't write, that we must write for them. Nah, nah, nah. Anyway. Hmm. Right.
Mm.
Yes.
Mm. You need mic because
Yeah, I agree with Dr. Hodge that I think that when we write, we have to bring the international audience into our world instead of us reaching out to create something that's their world. And so, in that light, I thoroughly agree with her. I don't think we need to do anything other than who we are as people, as writers, as Caribbean people. We need to keep that identity and to keep it very strong.
Mm. Mhm.
Wait, with on that question, when you think of Earl Lovelace and the language he uses, um, or you think of Achebe, things fall apart. They didn't write for.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
wrote came from the guts. Shakespeare and
Mm.
even the man who wrote Lady Chatterley's Lover, what's the D.H. Lawrence.
Lawrence,
They,
yeah.
they they wrote from the guts. They
Yeah,
wrote from what
yeah,
what they had to
yeah.
say.
That's true.
Okay. I was just gonna um well, talking about language. Um, what do you think of Earl Lovelace's language? Isn't it's well, I think it's just marvelous. It's Trinidadian
Yeah, I love
English
her.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's all. That's okay.
Mm-hmm. That's it. Hmm? Yes, what do you think about the love this is language? No, I answered, I answered. I like it. That was a good answer, all right, sir. Yes.
Paper that I wrote, my 28 to come. That was a good.
Okay, right.
The back of development. Oh, sorry. Looking back at the development of language in West Indian writers from all in the 19th century. Not
Okay.
19th, 19th?
Yeah,
I
like,
suppose 19th century. Yes, Yeah, it's
right.
very interesting because he doesn't use one style. The wine of astonishment is entirely in Creole, although somebody was telling me it's a little anglicized. Somebody was pointing that out. And and other ones are Creole and standard English. But I'm glad he wrote. As we have those there so the children and the future
Yeah.
could have a sense in itself, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, young man.
Perfect. And thank you everyone for those questions. And even if you have more questions afterwards, she'll be here to take questions as in terms of book sales, and we also have a little giveaway. So now in keeping with language of the Caribbean, language is not also in terms of words and speaking, not also in terms of writing, but we also have a rich cultural in terms of expression, in terms of singing. So I'd like to bring on this evening's entertainment, who's also a member of our family, writer, singer, songwriter, Miss Sharifa Selman. Give her a round of applause.
Um, just as Johansi said, I also feel proud of seeing what you have done with this piece of art. And as a creative and a writer myself, I will be sharing a small part of my version of Tilt, which was a song selected by, well, I know her as Joy. So I call her Joy, for you all to experience. What I would like to ask from you all is to feel free to say these words. The chorus is, you could take the short way, I'ma take the long way home. Still learning about me. You could take the short way, I'ma take the long way home. Still a lot I want to see. When you hear me say you could take the short way, feel free to say, I'ma take the long way. Correct. You could take the short way. I'ma say I'ma take the long way. You could take the short way, I'ma take the long way home. Still learning about me. You could take the short way, I'ma take the long way home. Still a lot I want to see. You could take the short way, I'ma take the long way home. Still learning about me. You could take the short way, I'ma take the long way. Still a lot I want to see. Our fire is blazing, I touch it, it burns. I come back with cold hearted sleeves in return. Yet for nobody know how I live my life. How I'm fighting with these demons every day and night. I have a story, but it's on the DL. Still grinding just to see me excel. I want the glory, so I'ma work for it. No chatters, no chits, I just step with it right. And all up in my mind, going through the memories of how I spend my time with them all online. Stop and press rewind. Miss I've been through so much shit, but I developed over time for real. On Christ, I'm so talk to me nice. Been through the rough, but came back with might. Me a resilience boss, my made it for spite. You could take the shots, wait. I'ma say you could take the shots, lady. You could take the shots, lady. You could take the shots, lady. I'm still here, still alive. Barely breathing, but you know I survived. Yeah, I made it through the top in the sky. 'Cause I know that I could make it if I tried. Yes, I have to look to God 'cause He provides. And I know that if I seek that I'ma find. Yes, 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 yes. The real reason I'm alive. I'ma say you can take the shots way, I'ma take the long way home. Still learning about me. You could take the shots way, I'ma take the long way home. Still a lot I want to see. You could take the shots way. You could take the shots way. Thank you. The amazing choir. Enjoy. I love you bad, 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 bad. To everyone that came out to support my sister, just want to say thanks as well. Thanks for being there. Thanks for listening. Thanks for keeping her company. Thanks for making her laugh. Because that makes me happy, you know. As we all enjoy the rest of this evening. Yeah, yeah. So one more time for the road. You could take the shots way. You could take the shots way. I'ma say you can take the shots way. I'ma say you can take the shots way. Thank you.
Boom, boom. I like that. I like that.
Thank you.
Oh, all right. Give her next round of applause. Um, and as she thanked you all for coming, I also would like to mention a few people, even though some of them may not be here. Um, my mom made it her business to make sure and mention these people by name. So, one, in terms of someone who helped her in terms of crafting the idea, Miss Nancy Pierre Campo, right? Just giving her a quick round of applause. The the main character named after Mr. Peter Yearwood, one of the many supportive friends, Marilyn Yearwood, the list of the early beta readers, Miss Nancy Pierre Campo, Peter Yearwood, Sekou Murray, Safia Greaves, and Dane Greaves. To the person who helped in terms of the novel theory, the Jericho Self-Edit Scholarship, PoS, Alper, and Darwin. For the critic partners, the SESC members. For editorial assessment, Natasha Bell and the Jericho Writers Association. The final editor, Miss Stacia Yearwood. For the book cover design, also a member of the family, Ruthven Barry Walkins. And you may see some of his work around. For the person who helped her format it, Miss Marsha McKee. To the people who helped build the website now as a person of the younger generation, right? My mom wasn't too savvy on the Instagram and going online, but was told that to be able to publish and sell and advertise a book, you need to. So thank you very much, both Kyle and Sharifa, here for helping her. And to the members of the launch team, Miss Rhonda Wilson, right? Miss Marcia Roper. Well, I seen my name here, right? All right. Mr. Alfred Wave, right. Dr. Mulhudge, Miss Betty Derrick, Miss Betty Joseph, um, Sharifa Selman, our photographer Ananias Wilson, to also our live streamers. A round of applause, allowing people who not here to be able to see it. Now, we have a little giveaway that may take a little effort to do because you'd have to tilt, right? You have to tilt your head or maybe your hand, but your head and look under your seat and see if you're lucky enough to win a copy of the book.
That's something you like.
Yeah, something? Nah, nah, nah.
No,
Nah, that something is not the something. Uh-huh. Tell me. Okay. And anybody tilt the self enough to see it? Huh? Yeah, the book underneath one of the chairs. I I didn't plant it, so I can't even tell you where it is. Yeah, I didn't put it. Huh? But- So whoever find it, yeah, whoever find it.
Find out. So they may be sent to the wrong now so that they
Okay, okay. All right. All right. Well, the seat that needed to be tilted, nobody was sitting on the seat. So here's how we will do it, right? By chance, is anybody birthday today? No, no birthday today. Or somebody had a birthday yesterday? All right, we taking that. So the person who had a birthday yesterday, where, 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 where's the book?
most questions.
Nah, that is something special for you. Right, sir? So happy birthday one time. Happy belated birthday.
Fourth of April.
Come in front, let me take a little picture.
I, I, I,
You want to,
I want to give you so.
let me go next to her now? Yeah? Yeah? Come. Go and stand up right here next to her. I don't need to be in the picture, you know. Hmm. Mhm.
They said the price was turned up. So remember, what
Yeah,
we had
I will.
agreed was that it was 120, but here is a
A
hundred.
hundred, yeah. Yeah. All right, so people, we nearing the end of this evening. Again, I want to thank you all for coming out, for making the effort. Now, why I like to thank people for their effort is because everything is a choice, right? This is my belief. I have no busy people in this world. Busy is a word we make up to kind of euphemize things. All of us have a choice. It's not a busy. It's either you want to go or you don't want to go. And you all that made the choice to come this evening, I thanking you all for that. So just give yourselves a round of applause. So as we wind up, next, after we close this segment and say the prayer, you all could come if you all want to purchase any copies of the book to get it personally signed, right? And the price for today, just for today, is a discounted price of $100. Now, yeah, for today, yeah. Hmm. So for today, and also, we have a special presentation for Dr. Hodge. She she went to the restroom. And all right. And also we have a special presentation for Mr. Wave. So as we wait until Dr. Hodge come back, Mr. Wave, come up. Mhm.
A question. Where will the folks be available? But I don't think she's putting them in bookstores. So I think, yeah.
Yes, right. Now you go next to her, man. You go next to her. Yeah, you go next to her. Right, Dr. Hodge. Huh? I'll invite her. Was it? You want me to give it to her? All right. Okay. All right, Dr. Hodge, we have a special presentation for you. We appreciate we appreciate you being here and choosing to take time off to come on my mother. All right, so let me give you a little hug.
Yes, thank you very much.
Just turn for the camera there.
Good water. Yes, sorry. Mhm. Thank you.
Mhm. Who's this for? For her also? Let me hold it for you. I'll hold it for you until after.
Correct.
Yeah. We have one more presentation for Dr. Hodge. Her special copy, even though she read it already. This is a special copy of the book for you. So thank you very much again. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, after today you can purchase the book, but after today, because the books are not in bookstores yet, one, you can get it on Amazon. You could just search Tilt and the book will come up. Also, we will leave our contact information here so you can contact my mother directly and that we can get the book to you. All right. Yes, but you can buy it here today also. All right. So again, thank you very much. And I would like us to end in a prayer. So if everybody could stand up, bow your heads and close your eyes. All right. Creator, we thank you for life. We thank you for the opportunity to honor Taliba Ayodike today as she celebrates her first publication. We thank you to everyone here who has a story, who has a expression, who has a novel or a story inside of them that needs to come out in whatever form. That each one of us as unique individuals are talented. And I thank you for the celebration of life, the celebration of love, the celebration of family. And I know everyone here will already reach home safely. In your name, amen. Right, people? So don't miss the opportunity. Come and talk to her. Come and get your book signed. Come and ask any questions.